Randy.
Eddie.
Randy.
Eddie. Two phenomenal guitar players coming up at the same time. And according to Ozzy Osbourne, those two had a serious rivalry going on. Looking back, both of those two seriously contributed to music. So the rivalry between them could be viewed more as a healthy competition. Thank you. Now you gotta remember, both guitar players were playing the Sunset Strip and competing for the same audience. According to past interviews, accounts from Ozzy Osbourne himself, Eddie Van Halen had said on numerous occasions that Randy Rhoads learned everything from him. One famous story, and the inspiration behind the thumbnail to this video, according to one of Randy Rhoads' guitar techs at the time, Randy actually had a picture of Eddie Van Halen on his wah-wah pedal so that he could step on Eddie during every single Ozzy gig. How's that for inspiration? While both are complete rock god geniuses on the guitar, there were actually few parallels between their approaches. Randy Rhoads in the studio took a very methodical approach to crafting his solos, and often they were memorable and hummable, similar to what you would get with a Brian May or Tom Schultz solo. Of course, the hummability would be broken pretty quickly by Randy's blistering runs, but that dude not only could shred, but then he could double track that shred perfectly. Now conversely, Eddie Van Halen had a really off-the-cuff approach to soloing, with no two versions of any of his guitar solos being the same. Eddie would just do a few takes in the studio until he found the one with the right feel. They'd go with that and move on to the next. Now, of course, that does not say that Randy Rhoads did not have his own form of reckless abandon. He would do some really wild stuff during his solos, such as taking a passage and moving it up or down chromatically, playing outside just like a jazz player would, only with a serious molten level of distortion behind him to add that rock power. Now, Randy was legendary for introducing a real neoclassical approach to hard rock, and that's what helped give Ozzy that gothic, medieval type of sound, and also contributed to his image of being the Prince of Darkness. Conversely, Eddie was in a fun-loving party band, so the vehicles for their guitar playing definitely diverged quite a bit. Randy was obviously highly classically trained. Eddie Van Halen had taken piano lessons. What was interesting about that was he had zero interest whatsoever in reading music. So he'd look at what his piano instructor was doing and then go ahead and copy what she was doing exactly. And of course she was impressed, even won awards. Little did they know he was doing it all by ear. Here's where the arguments come in. When you have two guitar players playing the same music scene during the same era, both breaking ground, it would be hard to deny that they didn't at least spend a little bit of time studying one another. And chances are, both of them copied at least a bit from one another. A lot of the two-hand tap passages from both Eddie and Randy sound very similar, are constructed similarly, and have a bit of a classical vibe to them. It is also undeniable that each player shaped music to come in their own way. With Randy Rhoads completely upgrading neoclassical metal and rock, which hadn't been updated properly since the days of Ritchie Blackmore. And Eddie, and the rest of Van Halen, of course, signaled the birth of what would later become
hair metal,
with tons of makeup and spiky hair. Unfortunately, though, those bands in the later 80s just completely missed the point of what Van Halen was all about. Van Halen's approach to their look in the early days was very makeshift, and that's what people liked, was the fresh and rawness about them. That later glam metal bands kind of stole and ended up running off and turning their videos into what looked like a Maybelline commercial. And when we look at how Randy Rhoads shaped the music scene with Ozzy, a lot of that influence was seen in bands like Metallica, who came up with their No Life to Leather demo in 1982. And subsequent Kill 'Em All release, having similar double-track guitar tone, which seared like a buzzsaw in the mix. And there's no doubt, given the time period of Blizzard of Oz's release, that Metallica and other bands who took music in a heavier direction had to have taken their cue from Randy's work on that early Ozzy album. So while both Randy Rhoads and Eddie Van Halen would have claimed to never have copped licks off of each other, we can't know for sure, but we can analyze their work and draw some parallels. We can conclude beyond a shadow of a doubt that they were drawing drawing upon each other's energy. And supposedly, Randy never went to any Van Halen gig. Yet, members of Van Halen were present at a lot of the early Quiet Riot gigs when Randy was gigging with them. Randy really wasn't complimentary of Eddie anyways, as Eddie and Van Halen found success faster than Randy did when he finally hooked up with Ozzy. But the long and short of it is, there's really no competition between them. They're both legendary players. They both contributed so much to music. In my book, they both stand as equals 100%. I appreciate you liking and subscribing. Thank you so much for watching, and welcome to the family.